Do 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 do. Do 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 do. You are live. Maybe it's Graham has gone to make himself a nice decaf coffee. Not at the start of the stream, I haven't. Caffeinated all the way at the start of the stream. Maybe a decaf halfway through a stream, because I don't need to have lots of caffeine. Anyway, good evening, everyone. Caradog will be along shortly. He's having issues with video. Weirdly, the same issue that we had a couple of weeks ago, the last time I was in the shop, has struck again, where just Discord is just not capturing his video. So we've just switched over to Skype, I know, and very, very nostalgic. However, that's not working either. So yeah, Caradog is just rigging up some kind of really ugly workaround, and will probably be along shortly. So yeah, we'll wait for him to jump in. In the meantime, I will get the show started. So good evening, everyone. Indeed. Next, you'll be on Teams. Can one have Teams if you don't have Microsoft 365? Serious question. I've never used Teams. I've no idea how it works. Can I just use Teams for free? So yeah. Right. Anyway, turning it off and on. Yeah, we've tried all of that, but we'll see. As far as I know, no. Yeah, that explains it. Use Teams today. Yes, the problem is the only times there's a free tier. Oh, okay, that answers that question, because the only times I've seen it have been on like school accounts and business accounts and stuff like that. However, whenever I've tried to go to it, they're just like, okay, now sign in with your Microsoft 365 account. I'm like, I don't have one of those because I don't pay for Microsoft 365. So, 54 quid basic package. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Microsoft 365 makes sense if you're using the entire setup. Like, if you're in an office and you need Microsoft Office, Teams, OneDrive, the rest of it, absolutely makes sense. I use Google Docs, so good grief, he's got something working. Hold on a sec. I just want to, let's just bring this in. This is what we've got. This is how Caradog lives now. What is that? Okay, I can't hear you either, or rather the audience can't hear you. Let me fix that. Properties. Headset. All right, there we go. Yes, you are. I was about to say you are overexposed. Now you're approximately crashing into the sun. So, okay, let's see if I can just fix this. Could you also just tilt it down a little bit if that's possible?
I will get to all of that in a second. I was trying to find why can I change none of the settings for the C920 in the Logitech software?
You need to have the right version, because the C920 is really old and it's a bit of a mess. It's possible to make it all work.
If I make a custom mode, I can change stuff.
Huh. Also, I think my camera's been too high and you probably haven't been able to see me properly. Here we go. And then he plunged into darkness. Can you...
No, the answer is no.
Okay, I guess this is where we live now. Fair enough. I'll catch up on the chat while you tinker. And there we go. There we go. Oh my god. Well, for everyone who complains that Caradog always looks yellow, how's them apples? I'm going to go ahead and just do a horizontal flip on you and align you. There we go. That's good enough. We've got something that works. We've got something that works. That'll do. Hang on a sec. Let me just drop my chair down so I'm not speaking down to you, you know. It's that we can have that meme of how to talk to short people. It's just like, not like this. Like this, you know. Right. That's good enough. To be honest, given the hassle that Caradog has just, the hoops that Caradog has just jumped through in order to grace us with his presence, That'll do for now. Right. Okay, let's see. What's going on tonight? So, blah, 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 blah. We were talking about Office, and yeah, it makes sense. I need to look into it. I should have access to Teams for various... It would be a useful thing to have, because Discord is squicky. It's great, but whatever. Right. Caradog in perma-wholesome smile mode is delightful. You didn't see... hang on a sec. Where's the picture that I got when he initially joined? Can I show... Is there any private information on this? Oh, there kind of is. No, I've got to crop a shit ton of stuff out of that picture to share it with you. There was... Caradog has been getting into the habit that when I click accept call, or when I call him, he always starts the call with the camera cropped in like that, and a ridiculous grin. And it catches me out every time.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
Absolutely.
However, I can't show you the screen cap I grabbed because there's a crap ton of personal data on it. So anyway, it will make you smile though, Slink. I will show you later on at some point. Yeah, I'll stick it in the Discord later on. As soon as the show finishes, check the Discord and I'll check in on it. Right. Pose for me 6 picture. Yeah. Contributors ho! Maybe. Right. Anyway. Yes, Caradog is blue dabba-dee dabba-die. He's just he's approximately white balance 8,000k. So...
I'm slowly getting there.
All right.
But hey,
All
it's
right.
a thing.
It's fine. I will...
It will never look good because it...
The C920 is a very cold camera anyway.
Yes, I bought all of my lights for my C920 originally. And then, obviously, I found out that you could use your phone, and I never swapped the bulbs or anything.
Yeah.
So, yesterday, I bought all new lights.
Oh, no! So you were about to be not yellow anyway, and
Yes.
now it hasn't... Oh, no!
Absolutely. I was actually somewhat close to correctly exposed, correctly white balanced, and so on. And, yeah, it just hasn't happened. Hold on, if I do...
That's a big sad.
Yeah, so-
You're slowly turning into a 90s GIF. Just at really high frame rate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should it be that way around? Hello, I am approximately that one music video.
I'm sorry. I know we should start talking about tech, but I need to just open up filters, and I just need to start doing this because just for extra lols, you know.
Oh dear.
So yeah.
So something happened. I am now an artist. I am now Andy Narwhal.
Yeah.
Not similar to, but legally distinct from Andy Warhol. Warhol.
Okay, right. Tech. Let's talk about some tech on our technical broadcast, podcast, vlog, whatever. Someone asked about new shop news, so I'm going to kick off with new shop news because there is new shop news. I've got the keys to the new shop.
Excellent.
That's the news. So as soon as we wrap up this podcast, I'm going to walk down to the new shop and I'm going to record a video tour of the shop that will be exclusive to the Patreons who helped it all happen. So that will be going up on Patreon, and the people who are in the contributors on my Discord will also get a link to it because those also include people who subscribe to me on Twitch and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not going to be super exciting. It's just going to be a tour of an empty shop. But the point is I can go in and I'm going to be talking about what I'm going to put where in the plans and where we're going from here and stuff like that. However, as I say, the important thing is got the keys to the shop. It's all going to start happening. The grand opening, that's still not going to be for another couple of weeks, maybe a month, because I called up BT yesterday and said, I want to move my broadband and phone number to a new property. And they said, that property looks really squicky. We don't know what's going on. We need to do an engineer visit. And the next engineer is available on the 19th. So it's a 3-week wait before I can get the phone and broadband in there. And obviously I can't do anything without phone and broadband. So,
Starts waving semaphore flags at passers by.
yeah, pretty
Do
much.
you need a repair.
Yeah. So yeah, that's so we're waiting on that. However, it's probably a good thing, to be honest, because considering how busy I am with everything else, having 3 weeks to start moving boxes down there means that there's a good chance that within 3 weeks I'll actually have a load of stuff and at least one of the counters down there. So when that broadband goes in, I've actually got enough stuff in there to actually open and be able to do business, kind of thing. So yeah, BT, they're rip-off merchants. Well, I get I currently get 75 meg down, 20 up for £35 a month. And last time I checked, that's a pretty decent deal. And considering there's no Virgin in this area, I think you'll be hard pressed to top that. So, and the other thing as well is the BT has never fallen over. I've never had a peep out of them. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly that. BT works. And yeah, whereas previously I've been with TalkTalk and I've had a lot of problems with TalkTalk. Now I know that TalkTalk are the
data stolen and sold.
I know that TalkTalk are the opposite end of the spectrum. However, the point is I've had unreliable broadband. I know what that looks like. BT is not unreliable. It works. So, and also the BT Home Hub is actually a pretty decent router so far as ISP supplied routers go. So, that's TalkTalk though, Rusky. I ain't going with TalkTalk. I used to be with TalkTalk, and like literally the rush hour hits in, like about between 4 and 5 o'clock, your internet speed goes boom as everyone logs on at the same time. Whereas BT, that doesn't happen. So anyway,
I think my favourite thing was for the company I now work for in the office we're in. My like second job was working out who our actual broadband contract was with. Because as far as we could tell, we weren't actually paying anyone for broadband. We just had broadband. It turned out we had a Wanadu dial-up account that had just been migrated through all of the purchases of Wanadu and had somehow got rolling onto a broadband account. But it was a dial-up account, so you paid per minute, but on broadband, but to a free phone number, so we never paid because we were dialing a free phone number, effectively. And it was just like...
See, the thing is, that's one of those things where it's just like, do you want to actually deal with that? Because on the one hand, you're like, I've got free broadband, but on the other hand, you've got absolutely zero support. Because if that broadband line goes down, good luck getting anyone, who do you even call? So yeah,
exactly. It was also a case of it managed something like 1 megabit download.
That's also a problem. So
this is functional as a connection, but not when you're trying to run an office off of it. And we're just trying to work out what was going on. And yeah, I actually had I've got an interesting issue, which is with my with the credit card machine in the shop, where I also had the same situation where it was completely stuck with no contract on it, and that meant that I was not paying for the lease on the credit card machine, but likewise again I also had no support for it either. So, but that was kind of rad because that was saving me £20 a month. So. However, it has fallen over and I have no support for it. But I don't really care because I'm moving to a new shop now, so I'm going to sort it all out there. And you're going to everyone who comes in, I'm terribly sorry, could you pay with cash, please?
Hey.
Yes, I will absolutely declare this.
Hey. Yes. No, but yes. Right. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's move along. So there's a couple of things that we could probably talk about, but I'm just going to jump straight on some chat stuff. DisplayPort versus HDMI for gaming. Now, this is an interesting topic because for a long time, I've been of the opinion that DisplayPort is where it's at. However, unless I'm mistaken, HDMI is actually where you want to be these days, isn't it?
See, I have a very interesting entirely anecdotal, and we know the plural of anecdote is not data, but anecdotal piece where I get approximately 30% better performance out of my 3070 when DisplayPort only, as opposed to when connected via HDMI.
Sorry, say that again. I was looking at dank memes in the Discord, and it's lit. I completely tuned out while I was looking at. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Say that again. I'm very sorry. That was incredibly rude of me. But I took a glance and I suddenly became mesmerized, and I was like, "What the fresh hell is going on in there?" Sorry, you said you get 30% more. You get 30% better performance from your 3070 on HDMI.
No, via DisplayPort.
Oh,
when DisplayPort. It's DisplayPort only.
So when you say DisplayPort only, does that mean just one screen connected?
When I have just a DisplayPort screen connected, as opposed to just an HDMI screen connected.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's not a number of displays connected. It's actually the cable you're using. Yeah. How does that work? Does HDMI have bigger overheads?
I have no idea, but as I said, the plural of anecdote is not data.
Yeah, interesting.
And I'm just like, I don't understand in the slightest, but I'm like, okay, sure, whatever.
Huh. Fair enough. Yeah, because one of the things that concerns me, because I need to try a HDMI connection on my displays at home, because I think we had this conversation several shows ago, but obviously I've mentioned before I've got Asus monitors at home, and they're 165 hertz FreeSync monitors with the Asus backlight strobing doohickery on it, and I cannot for the life of me get the backlight strobing to work. And the one thing I haven't tried is to test it all on HDMI, because I'm using DisplayPort, and I'm curious. I need to actually plug in a HDMI cable to see if that actually fixes. No, I did try it and it didn't work. That's slightly undermined my entire conversation, but yeah. I think it's just a matter of whether you've got HDMI 2.1 or not, basically, isn't it?
HDMI 2.1 is good, yes. HDMI 2.1 basically makes HDMI match DisplayPort 1.4b, I think it is.
Yeah, DisplayPort is in a weird place at the moment, isn't it? Because it's on an outdated standard.
Because DisplayPort 2 got delayed, I think it was from 2017. So the official standard then wasn't ratified until 2019. We're then not going to see anything on it until next generation, maybe, question mark?
Yeah. However, everyone's doing wizardry to cram high bandwidth signals down 1.4b, aren't they?
Yeah. And then obviously HDMI 2.1 has 4K 120, 8K 60, which basically will end up matching what DisplayPort 2 will do.
Yeah.
But DisplayPort 2 will be a hair higher bandwidth and stuff anyway.
Yeah. Plus, it'll come with the other additional perks, like DNA Electronics mentioned being able to daisy chain displays, which is a bit of a niche requirement, but interesting.
Daisy chaining displays is mad, because it was also the other thing I didn't really consider, is the fact as long as you don't exceed the maximum bandwidth, obviously you can have a single port on your computer run 2 displays.
Yeah.
And you've got 3 of those. So you can have 6 displays. But to do that with NVIDIA hardware, they want you to buy Quadros. But if you do it over DisplayPort, technically you don't have to, because you're only using 3 displays. And I'm like, not sure if that actually works, but I feel like that's an interesting way around it.
Yeah. That's one of those things that's one of those kind of interesting Mad Lad experiments that you want to test out and actually try doing, but at the same time you're like, but who actually needs this? But
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We use the daisy chaining in the office for the monitors. Just because it's convenient.
Yeah. Oh, apparently people are complaining that I'm too loud, so I'm going to move my microphone further away. I moved my microphone closer to me
Rattle.
because I normally move the microphone closer for the podcast. However, apparently I'm too loud. That's probably where I'm just booming into the mic. So I've moved the microphone away. So that'll do that.
Away.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
more things needed. So I think ultimately, though, I mean, going back to the original question of DisplayPort versus HDMI, I think it ultimately comes down to just what you've got lying around, really. I think
if you've got DisplayPort the HDMI 2 or 2.1 and DisplayPort 1.4, it's a wash. If you're stuck on like HDMI 1.4 and you've got DisplayPort 1.4, DisplayPort 1.4 is better.
Yeah.
Is basically, I think, the massive oversimplification. There are minor benefits to HDMI, like the audio return channel support and things like that. So for like sound bars with TVs and
if you're doing a multimedia setup.
But that's very much more of a TV space thing, because I don't know why you wouldn't just take the audio direct from the PC as opposed to trying to pass it through your monitor. So
yeah, or that comes down. I think HDMI pass through and stuff like that really comes into play. I think that really comes into play when you're using multiple input sources, like you say, like with a soundbar or something like that. Because again, you might have a couple of consoles and a PC. You can run them all to the soundbar and then run that back to the TV.
Yeah.
So I think that's where that comes in. It's one of those sort of niche situations where not a lot of people need it, but if you need it, you need it, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that comes down to that, and I think that's kind of what I was saying by, like the ultimate solution to this question being use what you've got available, is that it really does come down to what do you need. I don't think either one of them are effectively higher performance at the moment in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
It's more of a matter of what niche features you need, and again, what cables are more easily available. The other thing, of course, is that most graphics cards have only got a single HDMI port. And for me, I'm using DisplayPort because I've got two identical monitors, and so I want two identical DisplayPorts going back to my graphics card, just because that's nice and neat. Also, we just lost your video, by the way.
Yes, apparently the webcam just died, so I'll return momentarily.
Okay. Right, in the meantime, I shall catch up on chat. There we go. D-sub is where it's at. Get out! Not really, it's fine. D-sub is still one of those things. You're just coming in from the side now. You just, hello? VGA is still one of those connectors where I really want VGA to die and go away. But
at least in the consumer space.
Yeah. However, in diagnostics and server space, there's nothing simpler. Like even today, at least once a week, I'm working on a computer that I'm struggling to get any kind of display signal out of, and I'm like, you know what, VGA cable, and then I get a picture on the monitor, and as soon as I've got that, I'm like, right, I have a picture on the screen. Now I can begin. Now I can start working back and moving back onto, I can start doing stuff. Whereas when you're stuck on a black screen, you can't do anything. So, like in diagnostics, there's still a lot of value in a VGA connection, which is frustrating. I really hate admitting that, but it's a fact. And I feel like server space is the same for the same reason. Is they're like, for servers, they don't give a shit about resolution or picture quality. They just want it to be as basic as possible, and it doesn't really get any more basic than VGA.
Yeah, you don't You don't need anything fancy. You just need it to give you a display of some kind. Because you're probably going, why has this server completely broken? Why are you not responsive in the slightest? Why is everything gone down? And as soon as something's come back up, you're like, right, okay, remote management stuff, done, fine. Admin panels. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, even then, data centers of Google and Amazon don't even care about that. How so, Teltac?
Probably because they just pull the entire 48U unit and go, it's broken, and buy a new one.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you get into the mega top end, you're doing everything over what? Intel ME or something like that, management engine, or whatever the trendy management port is on servers.
That specifically, I imagine it's a case of, from a cost perspective, it's cheaper for them to just install an entire new unit than it is to try and diagnose and confirm that everything is going to continue maintaining uptime.
Yeah.
Especially when they're on, is it 4 nines, 5 nines? So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that's kind of, I imagine, the reason for it. But yeah.
Fair enough. Right then. So, okay. News.
Absolutely.
So you inhaled then. No. I thought you were about to say something, but yes.
Well, the only thing I was going to mention was the rumors about Intel shipping out its 2022 potentially server chips. Oh, good God, it's just died again. And come back and died again. And who knows what's going on this evening.
That's fine. Keep going. We'll
yes.
We're not losing audio, so that's fine. Oh, hang on a sec. Before we get started on this, I missed some super chats earlier on. I'm just going to quickly catch up on those, and then we'll go into Intel stuff. Because there were a couple of goes. Demi BS, thank you for the $20. You're watching at work. If you're still watching at work, thank you very much. I did spot that, and then it scrolled by. And also Cody Sanders for the $5. Thank you very much. Do you fellas have any opinions on RGB software? You recently picked up some ARGB fans, and you're hating the MSI Mystic Light. I don't know the answer to that, actually. I do agree most RGB... Sorry, carry on.
Didn't MSI Mystic Light effectively get replaced by Razer Synapse if you buy the right collection of MSI stuff? Was that ASRock? It was ASRock with the Tai Chi. Never mind.
Okay. That's a shame, yeah, because I was going to say, yes, MSI Mystic... Most of the RGB softwares are a load of bollocks. That is one of the sucky parts of RGB at the moment. And I'm actually working on some videos in the background that just on and off, where I actually go through the various RGBs. And the video will literally just be the state of RGB. Because like the hardware for RGB is really good, but the software is horrendous. There's no real solution because unfortunately you've got to work with what your motherboard supports. Your only other option is to go with a third-party controller, which will probably want its own hardware. For example, the Corsair stuff will want Corsair iCUE compatible things, and NZXT Hue will want NZXT stuff, and so on. So yeah, sadly, there's no real solution to it. The best way to solve this problem of bad RGB software is to try and simplify your RGB effects. And again, this is a video that I'm working on. Shush you, Mr. CB backwards. Anyway, and by minimizing effects, what I mean is in the video that I'm making, I'm demonstrating how you can do nice RGB lighting with really, really basic effects using the minimum amount of software possible and, allowing for the limitations of the software. So typically using this, I say, all you want to do is you do things like just a two-tone flat color. So you just do an accent color that is just solid color, and then a wash color on your other one. So you have like all of your fans you could have on, say, red, and then you have a RGB strip down the side that is on purple, and you get a really nice mix of red and purple in the case. And yeah, that is very effective. Or you can also use blue and green, also makes for nice effects. And that's how I solve this problem, is you simplify the effects to the point where you don't have the issue. So it's a bit of a workaround, but that's genuinely the best solution I've come up with. I have heard that there is some open source RGB software. I don't know if it's JackNet that DNA Electronics just said, but there is some open source RGB software out there that you could try looking for. So I think that might be an alternative. So finally, then we've also got one more super chat from Ben Laird, who, again, I'm probably going to butcher your name because I did so in the past. Thank you very much for the £5. Took your advice on the Sabrent rocket. New build now complete, up and running, many thanks. Awesome, my dude. Glad that's worked out all right. Again, those Sabrent rockets are really well priced at the moment. They're a good purchase right now, I think. Yeah, RGB strips break so easily. Yeah, there are some good and bad quality ones. I haven't tested them much yet, but I recently bought the cheapest RGB strips, ARGB strips I could find on AliExpress, I think. They cost about £2.50 each. And yeah, the physical build quality for them is horrendous, but I haven't tested them to see if the actual colour quality is any good yet. So we shall see about that. Are you alive, Caradog?
I'm here. I'm just...
For a moment, invisible. You appeared zoomed in, and I was like, I'm waiting for it to appear on the... Yeah, it did come in on the preview.
So I can't see that my video is working, but by watching the stream, I can see my video.
Okay.
So, congrats, I guess. This is what you get. This is what you deserve.
Do I have some kind of auto attenuation on the mic? No. Unless it's just being affected by what direction I'm speaking in.
Are you capturing your Skype or something?
I better not be.
Only because Skype does auto level your microphone. Attempt to make you appear the same volume.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely on the right microphone. I'm just going to triple check that. Properties. Yeah, good. I was going to say, for a horrible moment, I was like, it's not picking up this mic up here, is it? But then it can't be possible because this mic has got a range of about there. So if it was on that mic, it literally wouldn't be able to hear me. Hang on a sec. Let me try moving the microphone again. Trying not to bump it. Let's go with that. I mean, I do have a limiter on. I don't know.
I played with a entirely digital mixing desk last night and just kind of went, oh no.
As in, no, I need to buy one of these.
No, it was partially in the sense of I imagine a physical one would actually function better. But it was also just the case of trying to get all the things to do things. And yes, there were lots of options.
Yeah. That's kind of the point of them, though.
Oh, absolutely. But I think it was the thing that's a problem that I was having with it was the fact that I was trying to put a compressor on it to try and normalize the volume ever so slightly. So obviously moving back and moving closer wouldn't then have too much of an effect. Apparently it doesn't do anything other than just make everything much, much louder. I was like, that's not the effect I wanted. And then I was like, what I want to do is also avoid clipping. So I'll put a limiter. I'll put a limiter on there.
Yeah.
No, what it actually did was just apply a noise floor. And I'm like, none of these options are doing what I expect them to do. Either I severely misunderstand the function of this software, or this software doesn't do what it says it does. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
No idea. Much confused. But yes, I do want to get one of the Go XLRs. The mixing desk type-esque things because it's very much a case of it's designed to be a simplified mixing desk for content creators and streamers.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a case of it's aimed at people who don't know.
Yeah, that seems like a sensible idea. I mean, I would like to start going down that route because once you've got an XLR input, you have a much broader choice of microphones and stuff you can plug in. You know, like there's lots of times where I'm just like, I kind of want a shotgun mic because then I can just have a shotgun mic sitting on either a camera on a tripod or just sitting to one side pointing at my general face, and then I don't need to worry about the microphone positioning or something like that. But again, it's just finding all of these in a choice of USB is really, really difficult. Whereas as soon as you've got a decent XLR input, then you can just buy all kinds of different microphones and just play the field, so to speak. So,
absolutely. No, it was also because Shure have recently released the MV7, which is a XLR and USB microphone.
Oh, combined?
Yes.
That's kind of interesting, actually, because it
output over both at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So you can have a proper XLR input going into your mixing desk, going into your streaming software and so on, which is what is getting broadcast as your stream.
Yeah.
Then you can have a separate microphone, which is the USB one, for Discord, for your team chat and stuff like that. You can mute your stream and stuff without muting your team chat, and you can mute your team chat without muting your stream. And I was like, that's quite clever.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, that also opens up the opportunity for people who want to buy, who can't afford to get the decent XLR mic and the decent XLR inputs in one hit. They could buy a microphone, use it on USB, and grow into the XLR side of it at the same time as well.
Absolutely.
Which might be interesting. Yeah. Did you see a price on it?
Yes, I can't remember how much it was.
Okay. Fair enough.
Something in the order of about £300. I'd say, so 280, 300.
That's
so
not horrendous.
About what I'd expect for a for a mini SM7B.
Yeah, that's just it. Because the SM7B is about 300, 350, that kind of money, and that is considered to be a professional grade microphone. So. Absolutely. As such, if you've got, a microphone with the kind of capabilities like this, like that thing coming in at, like say 250, that kind of money, that's that's not half bad. And that is affordable for streamers and those kind of creators like that they're not going to fall out of their chair at the price of that, because, most budding content creators, when they're starting out, if you tell them that they've got to drop 500 quid for, like 350 on a Shure SM7B and another 200 on an XLR interface and maybe a filter or something like that, they're going to fall out their chair and say, I can't afford £500 just for microphone.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't really make sense considering you can get something that is 90% as good in just a USB condenser microphone kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And
so yeah, that sounds sensibly affordable.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I saw that and I'm quite interested because it's both. Because it allows you, also the other thing it allows you to do is connect to two devices at once. So if you wanted to connect to two physically separate devices at the same time, you could.
Yeah.
The only thing
the idea
that isn't supported is you can't use the USB microphone side of it on iOS. It just doesn't function for reasons I don't understand. It's a USB microphone. iOS supports USB microphones. Make it work.
Fair enough.
Sure.
But I feel like that's a small problem to have because,
Sure, sell it as a portable mobile microphone.
Okay.
Or that was one of their adverts for it, and it doesn't work with mobile devices.
Yes, I see that. I was going to, because part of me is just like, oh come on, who the hell is doing that who the hell is plugging them USB microphone into iOS? And it's like, well, actually, considering the use of this device, you might have I don't know, an iPad next to you handling your team chat while you've got all of your professional setup to what that you're actually operating. So actually that's not as left field as it initially sounds. So yeah. It's not something that I would like to do per se, but yeah, I can see the benefit. It's kind of like
it also just replaces a voice recorder. So instead of having to need a separate voice recorder, you have your mobile phone and a quality microphone, and you're done. It's opposed to having a voice recorder as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, from a cost point of view, it doesn't really make much sense. But if you're already using it as part of your stationary setup, you can also use it away because of the USB-ness.
It's kind of interesting to see the amount of products that are getting developed and released now that are aimed directly at content creators.
Finally.
Yeah, because there really is a gap in the market between consumer level stuff, the kind of area we're aiming for, I believe, is known as prosumer, where it's not quite professional grade stuff. It's not quite TV studio, but you need something more capable than consumer, but professional TV studio grade is overkill. So you need something in the middle, which is known as prosumer, and there is always a gap in the market, and we've seen this big time with like cinema cameras and stuff like that, where one of the reasons why the use of like digital SLRs as cameras as video cameras for content creators, one of the reasons why that's so prevalent is it's a case of they've got no other options, because you've got a phone or a compact camera, which is obviously a consumer grade device, and the next stage up from that is a $1,000 cinema camera, and there's nothing in the middle. Well, no, sorry, starting at $1,000. Like come on, like a Blackmagic. You can buy a Blackmagic cinema camera for $1,000. I can look one up if you want.
I thought you said cinema grade.
Okay, fine. Oh, I mean, videographer.
Because like £1,000 is like a standard video camera. Then you have your lenses.
But again, like, hang on a sec. Let me get up an example. You're forcing me to look up examples now. Blackmagic Mini or something. Ursa Mini Pro. No, that's not the one I thought. No, that's not the one I was thinking of. Not the Ursa Mini Pro. Oh, balls, I can't remember what it's called now. I know Blackmagic have got mini cinema camera. Okay, mini video cameras that are about 800 quid or like $1,000, $1,200, something along those lines.
Did you mean the 4K Pocket?
That's probably what I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Or something along those lines, yeah.
4K Pocket, yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking at. Pocket Cinema, yeah. Those are the kind of areas I'm thinking about. But again, for a lot of content creators...
Again, that's body only. That's what I'm saying. That's the price of the camera with no lenses.
Okay, sure. Okay, sure. The point is, it's 1,000 and up. It's a 4-figure sum.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
And the next stage down is a compact camera or a phone, which is obviously supposed to be just for snapshots. So obviously the only thing in the middle is an SLR, or of course these days a mirrorless camera. So that's why we've seen the prevalence of SLRs being used as video cameras, and it has taken a very long time for the industry to look at this and go, why is everyone using SLRs as video cameras? It's like, because there's no affordable video cameras. They all cost 4 or 5-figure sums of money. And unsurprisingly, a lot of budding content creators don't have that money. So, yeah. But you get what I'm trying to say, though. So
I was completely caught off guard by the fact that mirrorless cameras were a thing. I managed to somehow entirely miss that they existed. And this was a couple of years ago, just went into a camera shop, was looking at stuff and just went, mirrorless? What is this mirrorless of which you advertise?
Well, it's just there's no viewfinder. That's it, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. But it was the fact that it was all digital. There's no flappy mirror and stuff. I understand the concept now, but it was the fact they completely missed their release, their rumor, their anything. And I was like, how did I completely miss all of this? You know, this shift in the market. That was the thing that surprised me. I was just like, oh, I guess that kind of, you know, is really easy to happen. And yeah, it was just kind of the slightly humbling experience of the fact of I thought I was at least roughly aware of what was happening in the hobbyist photographic scene.
Yeah.
I guess. And then just completely blindsided by an utter complete shift in the format of camera.
Yeah, pretty much that. Yeah. But likewise, you know, again, now we are seeing lots of cameras being built that are aimed specifically at content creators. You know, like I really dislike the term, but vlogging cameras, you know, and that's what they're going for. And it's obviously interesting to see now that there are specific microphones that are coming out for similar use. I'm reminded, like, this is another. It's not a good example, but it's an interesting example of that phone that Sony released that we saw in. Was it Server Boys where it got linked? That new Sony phone that had the HDMI input on it.
I feel that Sony just clutching its jaws, attempting to be relevant.
That's just it. Like,
in my personal,
I'm going to look up which phone this was just so we can give context for this.
In my personal experience, Sony has not been relevant in the consumer electronics space for nearly 20 years.
Potentially. I mean,
the last time they were relevant in the consumer electronics space was just kind of.
I mean, they're still making good TVs, aren't they? Their TVs are competitive.
Or you could buy a better one from LG or Samsung, kind of thing. It's just like,
but they don't have to be the best. They just have to be competitive. That's the thing.
But
you know,
why would I buy a worse TV for the same amount of money? If they were also cheaper, then it's like, okay, you're making a value proposition. You're going, I'm spending £100 less. I'm getting slightly less. Sure, but when you're spending the same money and getting worse TVs, it's just kind of, what's the point?
Yeah. I guess they ride on the name really heavily, don't they? Because I mean that was the case with their laptop market in a nutshell. You know, Sony's laptops were always, every Sony laptop I've ever seen has been mediocre in some way or another. There's been a couple of them where I've been like, okay, no, this is really lightweight. I can get that. You know, it's completely carbon fiber back in like 2007 kind of thing. I'm like, okay, this is a space age laptop. So they've got a couple of things. They had a couple of things going for them, but the vast majority of their laptops have always been just, sure, it looks pretty, it's very swish and it's got sexy curves and everything, but the actual spec is really nothing to write home about, and they age terribly. So the same thing happened there. And it's kind of like and again, their phones have kind of been the same deal. But yeah, as DNA Electronics has already picked up, the phone that I was referring to is the Xperia Pro with 5G, where they've now made this phone where the big selling point of it is that it's a 5G phone with HDMI input. So it's specifically designed for live streaming in the field. It's live streaming on site. But the thing is, the promotional photos for this show them using this as a monitor screen for a cinema camera.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, who the hell is going to be streaming on site, on scene with a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 camera on a phone?
Yeah.
Who does that?
It seems kind of weird when you know the phone display isn't going to be Pantone calibrated. It isn't going to be 100% of DCI-P3. You know, stuff like that. It's just kind of, what?
Yeah.
It's a bit weird.
That's just it. And initially I was just like, oh, are they aiming it? Because when I first saw when our friend first mentioned it in the chat before they linked it, I was like, I mean, what, are they expecting you to hook that up to your digital SLR or something, so you can go around with like a whole rig on a monopod or something like that, and you can just go around and have a camera with your phone underneath it as a monitor and as broadcaster, and you can be going around the show with it on a gimbal or something like that. And I'm like, okay, sure, maybe. But no, the promo pictures show it on a big old cinema camera, and it's just like, this seems like a very unbalanced setup to me, you know. But on the flip side, it's an example of these companies looking to make things directly at content creators.
Because then it's a £2,500 phone.
Oh yeah, that as well. Yeah, and it's $2,500. I'm like, yeah, it was.
I just don't get where Sony's mobile division is.
Yeah. Also, rip your picture. Oh, it's back again.
Yeah.
Did you bring it? Did you bring it back again, or did it just go and come back?
No, I did nothing.
Okay, in that case, I'm not going to bother telling you if your picture dies. We'll just assume that it'll drop back at some point. So
we'll see. But yeah, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, you're paying for the millimeter wave 5G. Aren't there like half a dozen phones out there that can do millimeter wave 5G though?
And cost £700 or £800.
Yeah.
So you're saving over £1,000.
Yeah.
It's just a case of I don't get why you'd use it in any way.
It feels like they've stuck the prosumer price tag on it, thinking that the kind of people who buy this are not looking at the price tag. Because, you know, like when you get into professional grade equipment, the old adage of if you have to ask how much it costs, you can't afford it comes into play. So, you know, to a certain extent, when you're making professional grade products, the prices are relevant. It's a case of, does this product have the features that you need? If it does, you're going to buy it and you're not going to care about the price tag. Ergo, the Apple Mac Pro and the Apple Mac, the Pro display. You know, that's the thing. People are just like, oh, they're so expensive. It's just like, no, the kind of people who these are for don't ask how much it costs. And it's kind of like, and I feel like Sony have placed this phone into that segment. But the problem is, the people who are doing that kind of work, they're going to rock up with a camera crew in a van. I feel
they're going to have an actual monitor.
Yeah. And so again, it's like you look at a product like this and you're just like, who is this for? And I think this is the interest. And where I'm going with this conversation is that we're saying how there's lots of companies that are making products specifically for the consumer space. And I hesitate to suggest that a lot of them don't actually know what consumers want and need. And I feel like this is a problem that is compounded by the fact that a lot of content creators also don't know what they need. Because, you know, like recently I've been grumbling about everyone going, like the fact that these days, like half the streams that I open have got people using a Shure SM7B. And they're like, they're starter content creators. And they've said sort of, oh, what microphone should I buy? And everyone's been like, you need a Shure SM7B because that's the best one. And so they've gone out and spent £400 on this microphone and the XLR input for it, when it's not what they need at all. And so now I feel like that's now created this impression with the manufacturers that content creators have all got deep pockets, which sure there's plenty of them that do. Again, DL Electronics has just said rich vloggers, and I'm not on Instagram, but I have a feeling that if I went on Instagram, a lot of what I see there would make me very sad. But yeah, I don't know. Am I going mad here? Is anything that I'm saying making sense to you?
Yes, absolutely. I feel it's also possibly a case that there's a lot of people who don't know what's out there, and they're just kind of buying what they're told to buy by someone.
Yeah.
But they're also not understanding
what
why
their requirements are. Yeah.
It's a lot being sold and what their requirements are.
Yeah. Isn't it just like when you're in a chat, somewhere, like it's either just a chat room, a Discord chat, or just somewhere else, and someone says, oh, I want to get a gaming PC. How much does a gaming PC cost? And some clever dick in the room who knows a thing or two about tech is just like, well, you've got to get a 3080 and you've got to get an i9 in there. You're going to need an i9. Everything else is shit. And you're just like, what are you talking about? You don't even know. You don't know what their budget is. You don't know what they want to do with it. You don't know what kind of games they're going to play. You don't know where they're going to put it. Have they got space for a big desktop? And already you're telling them they need all of this stuff that is top of the line and top tier price tags. Yeah. And you don't know anything about what they need. And this is why the Shure SM7B is annoying me. Because I feel like that's the microphone that that one dude in the room keeps telling everyone to buy. Whereas someone is just like, I want to talk to my friends on Discord, but I want a good mic for that. And they're like, you need a Shure SM7B to talk to your friends on Discord. Yeah. No, you don't. You don't need that microphone, you know. And this is why I don't like the Shure SM7B now. Because it's oversaturation. Everyone is being told to buy this microphone when they don't need it. And I'm ranting here, you know, but...
Yeah, and it's a case that, well, the wonderful example is like the Corsair Void headsets. They are very good headsets with very good microphones on, and they're £100 and a couple of pound.
Yeah.
And if someone said, oh, I want to talk to people on Discord or something, you can go, well, guess what? You can get a decent microphone, a wireless headset, and it's got some funky RGB on it, because of course it does, Corsair, and it's £100. Or
it's
you
a
can
really
buy
good headset.
just a microphone for £400.
Yeah.
Plus then all the ancillary equipment. It's like you've completely missed what they actually need.
Yeah. I think that is why we keep recommending the Corsair Void to people, is because that's a headset where you cannot go wrong with it. It's there's not a doubt in my mind that somewhere out there there's probably a better headset, but the Corsair Void, it's widely available, it's reasonably priced, and it's decent performing. You know, I'm still seeing a couple of people saying that my audio is jumping a lot. I don't know what is happening there. I'm capturing my audio the same way that I always do. And this is not being I'm not capturing the Skype call. You're hearing the raw microphone here. So I'll keep an eye on it, but I don't know what's going on. I think I might be clipping, and I think the limiter might just be clamping down on me, actually. I'll try moving the microphone away again. And I'll try sitting back here just to attenuate a little bit. Because I think I might be bouncing off the limiter, and the limiter is just going and cutting the volume.
Absolutely. I was playing with the distance from the microphone last night as well, as I was saying about the sound deck, and just trying to match the same volume but at different distances and seeing how it made a difference to the actual sound. And I was surprised as to how little difference there was until I was literally touching the microphone. Like, from like 2 centimeters up to like here, you know, up to like, I don't know, 45 centimeters away. There was basically no difference, and I was surprised as to how consistent it was, other than in volume.
It changes the character of the sound, is my experience. Is because like when I'm the volume can be the same, but you know there's a difference in sounds between someone standing in the room and someone doing voiceover.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I was amazed that with this one, through that software, there was no difference between about here on it and being basically.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it was actually maintained. Yeah. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
I was amazed at how it was doing that. And I was just like, oh, it shows that there's basically very little proximity effect with that software, this microphone, and that setup. And it's just like, huh, how bizarre. So yeah, I'd just be interested to continue playing with that in the future.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Right. New conversation. What was that thing about Intel CPUs that you were going to talk about?
Only that there was a rumor that Intel is definitely using TSMC 3 nanometer to build its next server processors.
I saw a conversation about that going on. Oh, and
Yes.
these were server processors then. Yeah.
Yes. That was what was deduced from the non-sourced leaks.
Yes.
So this is non-sourced leaks, very much in the category of mountains of salt.
Yes.
However, yes, so it's just interesting that that's what's going to happen. Yeah, and I think it's a case of in my opinion, it's a good place, or it's a good thing that Intel has got designs that it can fab in other places that it can use TSMC for. And it seems that they've moved that reasonably quickly there.
This does seem like it will be an interesting test for them. You know, like they're doing it on server CPUs, which I would imagine shift in lower volume than consumer CPUs.
Well,
I'm not sure.
I've no idea specifically on volume, but from what I was told, consumer space in the sense of DIY is like 0.5% of the 0.5%.
Oh yeah, DIY absolutely. But when I say consumer
DIY
space,
is the 0.5%. That is the 0.5% of home users buying processors.
However, consumer also includes all of the OEMs as well and SIs.
Oh yeah, but I was saying for like buying for businesses buying desktops, businesses buying laptops, businesses buying servers is 99% of their sales, sort of thing.
Yes. However, where I was going with this is if this is going to be for their server processors, then I would imagine that server processors versus Core i series processors in business desktops and business computers and everything else, I would imagine there are more Core i CPUs being made than Xeons. The implication being that this would be an interesting test for Intel to try out getting someone else to fabricate their CPUs for them, and if it goes well, they may then start farming out consumer CPUs as well.
Potentially.
That might be I feel like that's potentially the interesting takeaway from this rumor is Intel are testing the water with farming out fabrication, which
also because server chips have a higher profit margin on them. So
they can take the cost on it as well.
With the higher profit margin, if TSMC are taking away, say, 10% of our profit margin, it's less of a concern, just because it's a much higher margin part anyway.
That might be very interesting. I wonder if... I don't know. I mean, like, for a while, I've been sort of... For a while, there's lots of people in recent history with all the news of Intel having so much problems with CPU yields and stuff like that, and their problems with 14 nanometer and things like that. Lots of people have been going, I should get TSMC to make their CPUs and stuff like that. And I'm like, but Intel have got their own fabrication lines already. That's never going to happen. But I don't know, do you think we're getting to the point where that's... Well, I mean, if this rumor is true, then we are absolutely at the point where they're like, okay, we're now actually seriously considering... I mean, I don't know. I think they're probably a while from going fabless, but suddenly an impossible idea is almost seeming to be a lot more possible all of a sudden.
I don't know specifically. Just because it's a very interesting ecosystem type conversation, because obviously Apple Silicon came in very quickly on the desktop side in sort of 2 years. Roughly.
That's a good point.
And in 2 years they were basically performance parity with Intel's laptop parts. So it's kind of a case of that front, it's kind of going. If that's how fast Apple Silicon and ARM-based architectures have leapfrogged on OS that was specifically built for them, built for the desktop.
Yeah.
Does that mean that x86 64 actually hasn't got that much longer left? Is it a case that x86 x64 is got 4 or 5 years left in it where it's going to be the majority performer? Because as well as that, you've got Amazon that's moving over to ARM more and more heavily for its servers.
Yeah.
And just stuff like that. So it's just like, is this kind of the start of the end of the story for x86? Because x86 is an instruction set that's what, 50 years old?
Yeah.
60 years old?
Yeah, I don't know. I find myself. Yeah. I might be completely wrong because again, I think we've had this conversation before, and I think I've still done no research since having that conversation. But with regards to the Apple M1, again, like I feel like all of the M1's advantages lie in hardware acceleration, or rather hardware processing. And I think what they've done is just make a CPU where most of what you do on a Mac can be hardware accelerated, but as soon as you need to do something, that does not, that the hardware acceleration does not support, suddenly you're down to potato speeds, where the x86/x64 CPU would obviously still have its horsepower on tap. And I think a Windows desktop, because that's the thing, like it's one of the reasons why the iPad Pro got to the point where it could potentially replace a desktop so quickly and so easily, and people were just like, oh, how come an iPad doesn't slow down and stuff like that? How does it do so much with so much less horsepower? It's like, well, because everything is hardware optimized. Because Apple know exactly what software is going to run because they wrote the languages that it runs.
Absolutely.
Whereas on a desktop computer, you don't have that level of control.
Absolutely. But I was going to say, what is there that an Apple Silicon device is going to get used for that is heavy shifting, that isn't AI acceleration, photo editing, video editing, web browsing?
Yeah, that's the thing. It does. I think you are correct, because what I'm saying, it does beg the question. Well, it does beg the question. Why are we planning for the outlier situation when we
Surely you should just write your software to not be the outlier.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And I think it's the answer to this is obviously legacy support. But that's always been the problem, hasn't it? That's always been the problem that plagues Windows and PCs in general, is legacy support. And of course, the solution there is, just because the future is not in x86 doesn't mean that you won't be able to buy an x86 device anymore. And, all good things must come to an end. I don't know. Dave Bell says hybrid chips will likely be used in the mid-future, ARM and x64. Is that a thing? Does a hybrid chip exist?
Yes, I want to say that it's Intel Cloverfield or Anfield or something like that. I've forgotten what model name it is. And it's used in a Samsung tablet currently. To run Windows as well, and it runs Windows on there, and it's got x86 cores and ARM cores.
Oh,
and it's fine.
Yeah, fine. Yeah,
you'd be drastically better off buying literally anything else. But
it's
fine.
It doesn't need to be the best in its field right now. If the thing about something like that is all it has to do is work at a conceptual level and prove that the idea is viable, and then you plow R&D into it and make it competitive.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you end up with the rotary engine problem, where after plowing God knows how many years of R&D into it, you still leak oil and petrol like a bath without a plug.
I never understood what the supposed benefit of the rotary engine was.
Very low number of moving parts, revs hilariously high, which makes it which is
But
good
what
for
problem is
racing.
it But what problem is it fixing? It was a case of what problem are you actually fixing?
Complexity is the main issue. I feel we're getting slightly off topic here, but however,
No, but it was a case of I
the
was
quick
like, I've
thing is
never understood why they
smaller and
bothered with that,
compact.
because I was like,
Yeah.
what problem are you actually fixing?
It's smaller. It's smaller. I'm trying to find a way. I'm trying to figure out where my hand will be actually on the screen when I'm giving gestures. It's smaller. It's more smaller and more compact is the same thing. It's more compact and smaller, and it has vastly fewer moving parts, which means it's drastically simpler to manufacture and theoretically more reliable. Except it isn't, because you have to service them all the time, otherwise they break. But theoretically, it should be better. But yeah, I don't know. The reason why I bring it up, though, is that it's an interesting discovery that something can apparently have a lot of advantages, but that doesn't actually mean that it will ever actually develop into anything. And
Itanium.
yeah, well, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
Itanium. There can be something where conceptually it seems like a fantastic idea. However, no matter how much you put into it, the seemingly less efficient alternative still ends up being better. So yeah. And that, I think, might be the issue with something like a hybrid chip is, as I say, if it's sort of a matter of, you may end up constantly being stuck with something that is a jack of all trades but a master of none.
Yeah.
But that might be better than a master of one. So I guess that's going to come down to what you need. Certainly in the mobile space, the idea of a hybrid CPU sounds very interesting. I don't know. See,
For what point?
Yeah, well,
What problem is it fixing?
power saving.
But x86 64 uses more power than ARM does.
That's my point. If you have a hybrid chip, you've got your ARM processors, which are power efficient, and you do them.
As in mobile phones.
Well, anything, anything that's going to be battery powered.
In our mobile phones.
No, I'm talking about having ARM and x64 in the same device.
Yeah, but what does adding x64 fix in a mobile phone?
Well, the ability to run x86 stuff.
But why would I need that on a phone on a 6-inch screen? That's what I'm saying.
Okay, sorry. When I say mobile space, then I mean tablets and laptops as well, potentially.
Yeah. I can kind of get that for like laptops.
Yeah,
maybe, but
well, actually, I tell you what. Let's flip this on its head, and talk about the potential benefits of a hybrid chip in a desktop PC. What would be, if we're talking about ARM being the future, why would I want an ARM chip in my desktop PC when I can just stick a Ryzen 5800? Why would I want an ARM CPU in my desktop PC when Ryzen 5900X goes burr,
Because for single-threaded applications, using specifically the Apple Silicon chip, the Apple Silicon chip is an identical speed and is passively cooled, so there's no moving parts at all on your cooling front. So that's a different benefit.
Yeah.
And you chuck another 8 cores at it to take it up to 16 actual cores, it will probably match the multi-threading performance. So it's kind of a case of, I am using 5 watts or 15 watts and doing the same performance as your 140 watt processor.
Yeah.
Whilst power saving on the desktop doesn't seem as important, it's still a case of,
it's nice,
if you're
isn't
talking
it?
about basically a 1/10 power and being able to go back to just a lump of aluminium on there as opposed to fans or anything.
And I feel like that's a good conversation to have, considering right now we're on the steeply rising curve of an increase in power requirements, because the power requirements of PCs sort of come and go in cycles, as you know. Like graphics cards, especially, go through phases of being of being power hungry, and then they suddenly become very energy efficient again. And right now we're on the rapidly increasing curve of everyone going, who cares about efficiency anymore? We just want more power. Ergo, the RTX 3000 series and its very, very thirsty GPUs. You know, like for a long time, my video of kilowatt power supplies are stupid has stood firm and resolute. Whereas right now, that video is holding less water. Because right now I am very much saying to people, no, you kind of want a 700 or 800 watt power supply these days, just in case you want to put a big ass graphics card in it. So, it's
absolutely.
So that's the thing, is the concept of saying, well, no, what if my CPU used 10 watts instead of 500? That's actually quite an attractive idea. I mean, even if you didn't do that for a gaming rig, for an office computer, that would make an awful lot of sense, because if an office block could slash their electric bill, absolutely slash it.
And not just from a billing perspective, you look at it from a from a global conscience perspective.
Economic, ecological, If
you're suddenly reducing your power needs by 90%.
A lot of renewable power sources that people consider to be infeasible suddenly become feasible as well. So
absolutely. All of that, and it's just a case of I don't know specifically if x86-64 has that much of a future, if other companies can do the wonders that Apple has done with Apple Silicon.
Yeah.
If someone else can crack the performance per watt of Apple Silicon on a non-Apple device, then absolutely, I don't see what future it's really got.
Yeah.
However, I think all dependent on.
Yeah, I feel like there's a massive gap in my knowledge that I think has a critical piece of this puzzle, and that is the question of, well, what can you do on x86 that you can't do with ARM, and how difficult is it to add that functionality to ARM? Because, as I say, I want to turn around and go, yeah, but you can't do X on ARM. Oh, sorry, you can't do ABC on ARM, and therefore it's dead in the water. Because, there may even be something that is just fundamentally will never be feasible on ARM. Perhaps the x86 will always decimate on. So AVX calculations. I've got no idea what AVX even is. Like, I know it's a type
waste of silicon space.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a thing. I know what it is. I know it's a thing on CPU. But what is AVX calculations, and what are they used for? I don't know.
It's a specific maths accelerator, and the same as SSE, SSE2.
Okay.
And MX.
Yeah.
They're just different math accelerators. But the benefit of AVX is you can use 256 or 512-bit data chunks.
Okay.
Bits.
Yeah.
So the thing of data that is being processed at one time is 512 bits as opposed to 1 bit or 4 bit.
Okay.
That's where its benefit
that makes
is
sense.
and so on. But
I suppose the next question to that is, well, could you repurpose that and do it on the GPU?
I haven't seen anything that's AVX accelerated.
Yeah.
Specifically, certainly not in the consumer space. I'm certain, absolutely certain, in the full-on commercial space that it will be actually heavily used for specific functions. But certainly in the consumer space, I don't know what benefit it brings. Certainly a case of, obviously, because AMD processors don't support it. And as far as I'm aware, there are no programs that don't run on AMD processors.
Yeah.
They don't support 512 AVX.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, either that, or we're going to see a return of see a return of coprocessors.
Accelerator cards.
I was about to say coprocessors. It's going to be, perhaps that will be the next floating point processor. So we all switch over to ARM, and there's going to be a couple of people who are just like, oh, we need AVX. It's like, well, you got to plug in your AVX chip for that. There's a socket on your motherboard for it. Imagine that, Um, but I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's AVX is like 10 professors versus 1,000 GPU monkeys. Yeah, okay, I'll take your word for that. It sounds like AVX is proper powerful. It's just there's not a lot out there that uses it. It's a bit of a niche thing. And I'm sure someone can go out and go, oh, well, Cinebench R25 uses it or something like that. Yeah, that's a benchmark. No one cares.
Yeah, and it's as far as I'm aware, it's basically a case of you could use AVX 512 or you could use like int 8 on a GPU and run it on any GPU as opposed to a specific Intel processor.
Yeah, but then that's the thing. That's what David Hosbro is saying in chat. He's suggesting that yes, you could do it on GPU, but an AVX capable processor would be massively more powerful than doing it in GPU. Like a single, as a plucked numbers. If one AVX CPU can do the work of 10 graphics cards doing the same job, then that obviously gives value to AVX on CPU.
Absolutely. It's just a case of I haven't gone and looked, but as far as I can tell, no one has given a specific function that benefits from that.
Yeah.
Currently.
Or again, if it's an incredibly niche thing, then again, a coprocessor doesn't seem like a ridiculous idea. If AVX is a very niche thing, then saying, okay, well, you can buy an AVX processor on a PCI Express card, and if you need AVX on your home computer, you plug in a daughter board for it. And exactly. That seems like that really is going retro, having daughter boards and co-processors. But that does seem to be the suggestion of where we're going here, is that you have an ARM CPU where just everything is hardware accelerated, and you've just got to buy, if you need some certain niche things, you just buy co-processors. Heck, you could even buy, if you've got legacy requirements, you could buy a legacy x86 processor that runs your 20-year-old program that can't be rewritten for ARM. So
I guess.
I mean, again, I'm entirely speaking out of ignorance here. I'm also slightly distracted because I think that rocket that got launched has gone explodey. Because chat has been talking about
of what was expected.
Oh, okay. I don't know anything about it. I've just seen people saying that SpaceX is firing a rocket. And I'm like,
cool. Isn't that what basically all SpaceX rockets have done except for one?
Oof. No sympathy from Caradog.
But no, it's purely just the fact of, as far as I'm aware, their track record is all but one have gone boom.
Well, F in chat for SN9 then, I guess. Well, yeah, anyway, co-processors. I think that sounds like an awesome idea. Either way, I think potentially we're in for a very interesting... I think there's potentially very interesting times afoot then, in that case.
Yes, I think...
part of me doesn't like the idea of leaving x86 behind. Like, I'm just like, I like x86. That's all I've ever known. But it's a case of, well, I mean, the more we talk about it, the more it does seem like the idea that x86's days are numbered seems to be getting less and less unlikely. Fanciful, yes. It seems to be getting less and less fanciful. And it's kind of a matter of, I seem to be coming around to the concept of maybe this time in 5 years we won't have x86 CPUs in our computers. Maybe 10 years, I don't know, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next year, but it's entirely likely that the days of x86 are numbered.
Yeah, I think it's a case of just it's not. I don't know where it's got to go, kind of thing, given the fact that apparently Apple Silicon matched 50 years of x86 development in 2 years, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I realise part of that is obviously they don't have a legacy instruction set that has been bodged for 50 years.
Yeah,
I think around.
I think the other thing as well is that while the speed and the speed at which Apple seemed to make and deploy M1 was incredible, but they've also had how many years of making the A series processors for the iOS devices, and like they had a huge reservoir to draw on.
Absolutely.
There.
So even if we call that 10 years, though.
Yeah, I have a feeling
12 years since the first iPhone.
Yeah, I have a suspicion that if something like this were to happen, the most likely thing that we might see is someone like Qualcomm or who are the people that make the Kirin processors?
What Huawei?
Oh, is Kirin
the Huawei
specific?
Kirin?
Oh,
yeah.
that's Huawei specifically. What's the other one? There's Qualcomm Snapdragon, and I'm sure there was another brand. Or am I going insane?
You have MediaTek.
What do they make?
Helios, I think, is their group name of processors. And you've got Samsung's Exynos or Exynos.
Maybe the Samsung is the one I'm thinking. Let's take Qualcomm as an example then. Maybe we'll see Qualcomm suddenly pop out and say, hey, we made a CPU that you can plug into a motherboard, that you can put in a laptop. Maybe they'll turn around and go, well, Apple did it, and we make the same kind of thing that Apple has been making. Like Qualcomm has been competing with Apple to make mobile CPUs for the past decade. And and I wonder if they're now going to turn around and go, well, yeah, anything Apple can do, we can do as well. Maybe whether they can do it better or not is another question, because obviously, the Apple silicon versus Qualcomm, I don't really want to say which is faster because they're difficult to directly compare because operating systems and stuff.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Certainly, competition has been fierce.
Continuously impresses is the similar user experience of performance when you're talking about like 3 processor cores at 2 gigahertz compared to 8 processor cores at touching on 4 gigahertz and stuff like that, and just like the huge paradigm differences in supposed performance of on tap, but the user experience is similar, and just stuff like that.
Microsoft make ARM CPUs, do they?
They make something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but yes. Well, they don't make. They are involved in designing.
Yeah.
So obviously Microsoft is fabulous.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, and also, people have been saying how NVIDIA own ARM, so we might
own ARM in the future.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, NVIDIA are attempting to purchase ARM.
Yeah,
allegedly. So obviously, it does beg the question of because it does feel like NVIDIA would not be trying to purchase ARM if they didn't have a plan to do something with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't feel like there's any point in them. Like, that's not just buying other companies that also make money. That feels like buying with intent to produce products,
yeah, absolutely.
So it is a question of what's their plan, and like people are saying, are we going to get an ARM processor on a graphics card? Because that might effectively make a graphics card an entire computer on a card.
Maybe. And I don't know. Yeah, but it's just a case of
NVIDIA have said they don't intend on going into normal CPUs. Well, what's a normal CPU?
Yeah, if a normal CPU is x86 64, then obviously, going into ARM stuff does kind of avoid that.
Level 1 Tech did a video on Liquid servers. It covers why NVIDIA may want ARM. Have you got a link to that? You could bash a link in there. I'd be interested to watch that. I'm not going to watch it right now on stream for a live reaction video. But I'd be interested to watch that for just some bedtime reading. so to speak.
Liquid make some hilarious storage solutions.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been watching
are
the Linus Tech Tips
glorious.
videos, because the Honey Badger and the new Linus Tech Tips Wanuk 3 server. That's
You knew Wanuk.
Wanuk 3.
You knew Wanuk.
If you watch the video, you'll get the joke. It looks pretty rad, and it looks pretty amazing, and it is cool to see some real solutions out there. Because I mean, Linus Tech Tips have been trying lots of different storage solutions recently, and when you get into the kind of thing they're trying to do, it gets really heckin' complicated, and it does seem like Liquid have actually solved that issue.
Absolutely. They solved the issue by using 2 processors and 256 PCI lanes.
Yeah, true.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. However, winning is winning, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. That wasn't my point. My point was the fact of, yes, they won by using a solution that was actually designed.
They
for
won
the
by
function.
putting 2 middle fingers up, didn't they?
Not that. They won by using products that were designed for enterprise deployment.
Yeah.
For enterprise deployments. It's shocking how that works.
Yeah.
Imagine if you used server equipment for a server.
Yeah, but, well, I guess also just the rise of Epic has just made it possible, hasn't it?
Yeah, the fact that it's got PCI 4, the fact that it's got 128 lanes on it, the fact that PCI Express 4, as I said, and the fact that it's got 8 memory channels, 16 memory channels. I can't remember. A lot of memory channels. And also supports it at like 33, which is actually ridiculously fast for a server.
Yeah, I was going to say. Most of the time with server speeds, you're down in the low 2000s, aren't you?
I entirely forgot that 2400 wasn't the slowest speed of DDR4. You can get 1800 DDR4.
Ugh.
That's an official JEDEC spec.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wait, what? But yes.
Well, did DDR3 go up to 1800 in the end, or did it top out at 1600?
Or was it 1600 DDR4? No, 1600 DDR4 to match
DDR3.
DDR3 1600.
Yeah. So DDR4 starting at 1800 kind of makes sense for the scale.
It's just,
but
what?
Yeah,
1600.
No, 1600 is the lowest. Yeah, fair enough.
To match DDR3.
DDR3 could go to 2133 on an overclocking kit. Oh god, first gen XMP. Ugh.
But also overclocking kits aren't JEDEC.
Yeah.
just like 5,000.
Remember, kids, XMP is overclocking your RAM.
Well, yeah. Anything over the JEDEC standard is overclocking. Not running at a CAS latency of 40.
Yes.
Above 2400 is technically overclocking. It's not, 38.
Let's see. Luber Redneck Richard asks, would I use Linux? No, I can't be asked. Is the answer to that. Linux is good on servers and certain workstations. That's where it belongs, in my opinion. You can use it on a desktop and it can be fine. And I guess if you live on the internet and you only ever use Chrome, maybe it even makes sense. However, I do a very broad range of things, and I like the flexibility of Windows just working. And I know Windows and it just works is a bit of an odd thing to say, but you know what I mean. And if you don't know what I mean, then you're the very reason why I don't like Linux. So
I think
it's not that I think Linux is bad, it's just not for me.
Yeah, I think the perfect example of that is that there's a piece of software that is used for something that I do. And it has a Python 2 dependency. Python 2 has been dropped by all of the current desktop editions of the major current front-running distros.
Okay, yeah.
The software doesn't work. You can't install Python 2 on those without a whole host of hackery.
Yeah.
And basically custom compiling a really old distro of Python to make it work.
Oof.
Or I take the same program, I double-click an exe, and it installs some functions on Windows.
Yeah, that's the
and
problem.
It's kind of a case of, I'm not saying that that's better.
Yeah.
I'm saying, or that that's not a thing that also happens on Linux, but it only happens on Linux when the stars align.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like,
It's
I realise there are different circumstances, but yeah, it's just kind of a fact of stuff, little bits like that make it harder to recommend for people who aren't wanting to learn stuff.
Yeah. And we are cherry picking information here, and you can cherry pick on both sides. You know, people who are just like, oh, Linux just works, they can go ahead and cherry pick all the things that people commonly do and say, oh, you can do all of this and stuff. And I really want to make clear here that I'm not being anti-Linux. I'm not saying that Linux is bad, or I'm not saying that I'm not being Windows versus Linux here. I don't hate Linux. I'm not against it. It's just not for me because I like double-clicking on exes and they just works. And anyone who says that Linux is the same is flat out lying, because it doesn't always work. And you can say, oh, you just opened up the terminal and do wget. You lost me at the moment you said open up the terminal. And yes, I know some, but I know terminal commands because you have to use them now and then. However, it's just in a consumer environment. People want graphical user interfaces. It's like people when I say, oh, I use Handbrake to process my videos, here comes Teltac saying, imagine not using FFmpeg. And I'm just like, yeah, or I could just double click Handbrake and click on a couple of buttons instead of having to open up my notepad document that's got all of the commands written down and all of the switches and having to type it all in. I could just open up Handbrake, load my saved profile and hit go. It's just, it's not for me, is basically it. And
absolutely,
just,
there are use cases for all of the above.
Exactly,
that's why they exist.
However, likewise, there was a chap in the Discord a while back who wanted to run a web server, and he was like, "How do I run a web server?" Yeah, he was like, "How do I run a web server off of Windows?" And we were like, "You get Linux." That's the answer to that question. How do you run a web server on Windows? You get Linux. And at that point, I was just like, no, you go and install Linux. Go and install Ubuntu or something like that. And obviously you can use whatever distro you want, but you can use any distro. You get Linux, you put Nginx on it, and you learn Nginx. That's the answer to that question. And because that is the correct answer there. And you can say, that requires using all of the terminal and stuff. So why won't you use that on the desktop? I'm like, because this is a server we're setting up here, which is a completely different use case to me leaning back in my chair with a coffee mug in one hand and my mouse in the other, wanting to just sit on my computer and play games or browse the internet. I don't want a command line to browse the internet, And yes, I'm sensationalizing, but you know what I mean.
Replace Chrome with terminal.
Yeah.
Just render web
ASCII
pages
internet.
In terminal.
Anyway, that is my opinion, and I will hear no criticism of that opinion. Have you broken everything?
No.
Okay, I'm going to read the super chat while you fix whatever you've just broken. Hat Rat with the €5. Thank you very much, my dude. How are you doing? Graham sounds like Sigurd of Katarina from Dark Souls when he says, love you guys. That makes me very happy because I like Sigurd. Everyone loves Sigurd.
Oh!
You had me down. I'm loath to admit it, but I've been had. Onion Bro is the best. Anyway. Right, okay. I'm against my better judgment. I'm going to quickly scan the chat. Okay, this is okay. I think I'm fine. There's a mixture of people who agree with me and people who doubtless disagree with me. I'm going to grab a can of Rio I've got to one side because my throat is dry.
They call her Rio, and she dances on the plains.
Does she? I'm also going to turn off my heater.
So Rio dancer, dance the Rio flame. Come on, it's Duran Duran. Ignoring the fact that I'm not actually singing, but yeah.
Yeah. What have you actually broken? Because it looks like you've broken something, and you've got to share it with the class now.
Oh, it is butter stylus.
Okay.
and I lost my battery.
Oh, is that a 4A battery?
Yes.
I've never
The
seen
small,
one before.
the smaller the battery, the greater the screen.
Yeah.
If you've got your AA, your AAA, and your quadruple A, yes.
All right. Let's see. Do you think the MacBook Air without a fan would be up to heavy tasks like heavy video editing and photo editing, and the cooling of the system would keep on working in years to come?
Yes. There's no moving parts, so why would the cooling system stop working?
Caradog, you're missing the point and you know it. The MacBook Air throttles like a bitch.
No, he's talking about the M1 Mac.
Oh, the M1.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The question was about the M1 Mac, and there's no moving parts.
Yeah, the M1 will be fine.
In the Air, in the Mac Pro, there is a little fan that goes whee.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, it would be up to it. I don't want to speak from experience though. I don't know.
I wouldn't.
I can't. I've seen
the first generation one.
Yeah, I think
that's my only reason why I'd say I wouldn't get one.
Yeah.
However, if you're already inside the Mac ecosystem, already doing all of your stuff on Macs and stuff, they're not a terrible option.
When you're working on just spec sheets and reviews alone, and you've never actually used one before, all the signs say that the M1 Mac is pretty darn good and a very surprising debut for Apple Silicon in a computer. However, it's one of those things where I will reserve true judgment for when I've actually used one and I've tried doing various things on it and tried doing things that it's not supposed to do and then been like, hey, it actually handled that pretty gracefully. Everyone says, there's loads of reviews that say we've done this, and this, and we've thrown all the curveballs at it and it handled them gracefully. And I'm like, that's what you say, but it's just such an unbelievable thing that I need to see it to believe it, you know. But also, as Caradog just said, it's a first-gen Apple product. And Apple have proven time and time and time and time and time again, don't ever buy a first-gen Apple product.
Yeah.
Because A, there's always something wrong with it at some point, and B, it will always have significantly shorter lifespan / support than the second gen will. So, it's a case of it seems like it's really good, but I would still wait for the second generation.
Absolutely.
If you've got no other choice, then sure, buy one. I'm sure it'll be fine. But then also, if you do that, I would imagine you're probably the kind of person that may be upgrading every 3 or 4 years anyway, in which case it's not going to bother you. However, there's a lot of people that go out and drop $2,000 on a Mac because they expect to get 8 to 10 years out of it. Because you can do that with Apples. A lot of Apples will give you 8 to 10 years service. And I know that because I see the Apples that are sort of 6 to 8 years old in my shop all the time. And a lot of them are still going strong. And I'm like, yeah, this is fine for what you need. You don't need to upgrade. However, the first gen M1 Mac, it ain't going to give you 8 to 10 years. Mark my words. Now, if you don't plan on keeping it that long, then that doesn't concern you. However, if you do buy one expecting to get 10-year life out of it, I think you're going to be disappointed.
Indeed. Yes, I slightly broke myself trying to look up something, and if you look in the contributors chat in Discord, you'll see the equation that I happened upon by accident.
Okay, hold on a sec.
And yes, just look at that and just kind of go, oh.
Let me... Right, contributors. Let me scroll past all of these fucking memes. What is that and why? What is the relevance of this bonkers equation that you've put?
I was attempting to look up what type of maths
Also the memes though. So Karen.
what type of maths was done by the Open GROMACS core, and instead it came up with that, and I was just like, oh no. Oh no, oh no.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's a random string of letters and numbers and Greek.
Yeah,
so
but it was the fact I looked at that, and that's apparently an entirely standard formula that, people can just do stuff with, and I was just like,
fair enough.
oh no.
I'm sure there's
no.
I'm sure there's a subreddit that is quite interested in that. So
Exactly. I am quite certain there are many people who know an awful lot more about maths than I do,
yes.
who will easily look at that and go, well, aren't you stupid? I'll just be like, yes, I am.
Yeah. Very well.
I added numbers together correctly today. That makes me happy.
Good. First gen iPod Nano was fine. Probably. Yeah. The iPods were all pretty. Yeah. I mean, with the exception of even the very first iPod was pretty good for its time. Yeah, the iPod has done pretty good for first gen products. I'll give you that one.
Firewire iPod was best iPod.
Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, I agree.
None of those dirty Windows users.
Like USB rubbish. Yeah. However, conversely, iPad and iPhone first gen was bollocks. And same the iPad Air. The iPad Air first gen was bollocks. Or the iPad and the iPad Mini. The MacBook Air first gen was bollocks. So was the second gen for that matter. It wasn't until the third gen when the MacBook Air actually became a usable device. But right. I want to talk about the memes, but I don't feel like it's fair to talk about the Discord memes without sharing them, and that's all contributor stuff, so I'm not going to go into it. I'd have to set up a window capture, and I'm not going to do that now.
Just stop.
But if you join the Patreon for merely $2 dues, is it $2? Yeah, it's $2.
Or if you use your free Amazon Prime subscription on Twitch.
Yep, use your free Amazon Prime subscription on at NethSM on Twitch, and you get into the contributors chat as well. So yeah.
And you get to see this debauchery.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Anyway, right, okay, I think we've got time for one more topic. Have you got anything to talk about? If not, I will look for something. And also, I suppose we could quickly cover. We could cover some other stuff that's been going on. What are your
Absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, everyone's talking about it. Then the NZXT H1 with its catching fire. I feel like I want to give my 2 pence on this. I don't know if there's much of a discussion here. I think we're both going to agree on everything.
My 2 cents on it is it's a case of it's another NZXT going, well, this is NZXT. What did you expect?
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, because what happened, for those of you who don't know, the NZXT H1 is a mini ITX case, and it has a PCI Express riser in it, because in ITX you often have to relocate the graphics card. However, the riser, one of the screw holes in it, was not a plated through hole. They just both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just one of them.
No, there are 2 of them that can potentially cause the issue.
Oof. Okay. Well, 2 of the screws on the PCI Express riser, they are not plated through holes. They literally just drilled a hole through the PCB. You can't do that. You can't just drill a hole through a PCB.
Especially when it drills through a trace.
Because it drills through the 12-volt plane. And then as soon as the metal screw, when you put it in there with a little bit of screwing and unscrewing and just general wear and tear, because people take their computers apart, or if they put it in slightly cack-handed and stuff like that, it then wears down the PCB material slightly, and it shorts the 12-volt rail to ground, and you get a fire, and it burns. And NZXT's initial response to this was to send everyone plastic screws, which will not short it out, which is like, that's not a solution, that's a workaround. but they took the case off sale. So I was like, fine, okay, well, that's the one was just like, hey, you twats, stop doing that. And they've actually taken it off sale again. So it's interesting to see with GN flexing their clout, that they actually had sufficient clout to actually get something done about it, which I think is pretty rad.
NZXT have said that they are now going to withcall them.
Yeah.
This was about 3 hours ago.
They said they were going to redesign the PCI Express riser.
No, they're going to recall them.
Oh yeah,
they are working with someone to recall all of the units.
Yes.
So
however, they also
what they should have done.
Yeah, they are recalling the units, but they also said that they will be redesigning the riser in order to start selling it again, which seems good. But what confuses me about this situation is I just find myself thinking, why didn't you redesign this when you re-released the case anyway? Because it's like, this problem isn't difficult to solve. All you need to do is just issue a new Gerber file for the PCB that is plated through holes on those screw holes, which is A, how it should have been in the first place, and B, really easy to do. And like, that doesn't even require retooling, because you don't, it's just, and I think that's what baffles me about this whole situation is, and I think I'm baffled because I want to see the best, but actually that kind of is, I think this is what makes NZXT really scummy and in the wrong on this matter, is the fact that they
didn't fix it when they first found out about it causing fires.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm just like, why didn't you just make a new PCB for the riser? And then, and instead of sending out nylon screws to everyone, say, yeah, please fill out this form and we'll send you a new riser. Like, surely they should have known that this was going to continue to be a problem. That's what really is weird. Warehouses with boxes of PCI cables. That must be the answer. But that's the thing, is just like, the problem is they can't have possibly thought that just sending out nylon screws with it all would actually be a solution. It's, I don't know, like, even if you got warehouses of PCI riser cables, then you should have known, we're going to have to chuck them all out then, aren't we? I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
Or failing that, it's a matter of... I guess it depends on when you get into scale, because part of me is just like, well, I don't know, maybe you've got to pay a couple of guys to sit in that warehouse, open up all of them, and put a different PCB on the riser, But...
yeah.
Or maybe it's just cheaper just to bin them all and buy new ones. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a shame. And once again, I think it screams of the fact. I think this screams of the. I have never seen the H1, and I'm curious as to see what it looks like, because. I'm curious as to see that PCI Express riser in person and just see how easy it is to damage it, because it kind of. Again, this is another example, it feels to me, of manufacturers that design PC cases but never actually test them. And I feel like it's a case of whoever is testing the products at the design level is not actually testing them. Because anyone with half a brain would have looked at that and said, that's going to turn into a problem. That needs to change.
Exactly.
Especially when it's something so simple as a plated through hole.
Yeah, absolutely. They are indeed they are issuing replacements, recalls, and refunds, supposedly. And they're supposedly working with the CPSC, whatever the CPSC is. I presume it's an American body for some sort of like consumer protection something.
Yeah.
They're working with them apparently on the recall. So interesting. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
How did you expect to get away with it?
Yeah, like Jay's 2 cents said, they made a calculation of all the potential court cases, and they figured that would be more expensive than the replacement. That's the Fight Club formula approach, and part of me really hopes that's not the truth, but the other part of me is just like, yeah, that's probably totally what happened. For those of you who don't know, in the movie/book Fight Club, the Insomniac's job was to apply the formula. He works for a car manufacturing company, And every time one of their cars is involved in an accident due to a manufacturing defect, it's his job to go out there and assess what is more expensive, paying everyone off or actually recalling the vehicle and fixing the problem. So yeah, and the idea is that more often than not, it's cheaper just to pay everyone off, pay for all the funerals, pay for all of the damages that the manufacturing defect causes. That is still cheaper than actually fixing the defect. That's how it goes in the film. And that's obviously what Jay is alluding to when he reckons that the potential court cases will be more expensive than a replacement. Yeah, I don't know. I could believe that. And that's very depressing, but entirely possible.
But yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a case of you have to calculate those costs.
Yeah. There is a value to human life in a financial calculation. Yeah. And that sucks. I think that, and presumably that is exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, because it's kind of also the case of, in a sense, when you've got product liability and so on getting involved as well.
I love it how I'm looking to the right here to look at Caradog, because I've got him on the screen next to me, but he's not there, so I'm just looking over there. Yeah.
In your hearts and minds.
I'll carry on staring into this camera instead.
But yeah, that's kind of a question that you have to ask. Yeah, what cost is it? But I'm surprised that they didn't think that the cost would be higher, given the fact that if there is an actual claim for loss of life, that's going to be close to $1 million.
Yeah.
If there's an actual claim for property damage, that's going to be several $100,000.
That's the thing. I mean, when you're calculating risk, you have to consider what is the worst possible thing that could happen in this situation. And as soon as when you've got a product where there is a strong possibility that it will catch fire and burn a house down, it's a case of you can't mess about with that. That is the worst possible situation.
It's a case of them being found directly or vicariously liable for the resultant damage.
Yeah.
What is the likelihood of that? And also, what is the likelihood of there being a total loss on the property? And also a case of what is the likelihood of there being even just a major loss on that property?
Yeah.
So,
and the likelihood of being able to prove that it was as a result of this manufacturing defect. Because let's face it, if a house fire takes hold and burns the house down, the fire inspectors come in and they say, "Oh yes, the computer caught fire," and it's some souped-up gaming rig. It's a case of, well, they're just going to assume that it wasn't built properly and it was the fault of the owner. That's where that's going to go. It's just like if we're going to get really vicious with this, if we're going to go there, do you reckon that's would they have factored that in, or are they going to or is that fire inspector going to go, "Oh, that's an NZXT-H1. That's a manufacturing defect on that. Wasn't the homeowner's fault."
Yeah, absolutely. It depends. It entirely depends. It would require them to be aware of it, which is obviously difficult because you have to disseminate that knowledge to thousands of people and keep it fresh and relevant to them for, maybe 10 years' time?
Yeah. And when you think about it, and you might say sort of, "Oh, yeah, well, surely, fire inspectors have got channels of information for this, right?" And it's like, yeah, but there's also how many hundreds of thousands of consumer products out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the interesting point you just saying about electrical fires is, as far as I am aware, it has never been proven beyond reasonable doubt that faulty electrics have caused a fire in the past 30 years in the UK. It has never been proven beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to admit
that it's never been proven beyond reasonable doubt because they have just taken the report from the fire service and gone, "This is what has happened. There is no court case."
Yeah.
Basically. And it's just very interesting.
How about that? Yeah. I mean, it is one of those things where, it's just it's when stuff catches fire in a computer, it's I hesitate to suggest this, and don't quote me on this, but you need a really, really, really extreme case to actually have a fireball that could potentially set your house on fire.
Certainly.
I've seen direct shorts in computers where, like Molex can. I've seen a computer tower where the computer tower hard drive is vertically mounted on the inside. Molex SATA cable plugged into the bottom of the hard drive, and the SATA cable was shorting against the case. So it heated up to the point where the plastic of the SATA connector had caught fire, and there was a small fireball at the base of the hard drive and was going blah in the case, because that's the noise that fire makes. It goes blah. And
Absolutely.
However, the power is going to fail because the power supply is going to cut out or fail due to the overcurrent, or the fuse is going to blow, and the source of the problem will then generally extinguish itself before the whole computer can actually turn into a fireball, unless the actual computer case, for example, were flammable. It's one of those things where a metal box is surprisingly difficult to burn down. Ergo, have a look at the people who try and set speed cameras on fire. It's surprisingly difficult.
Sudden success.
It's just a random thing that I read about one day. Is that there's a website out there about it, and I was reading, and it was a case of, because I'm sure everyone's seen it now and then. They've been driving down, they've seen a speed camera where it's either burnt out or there's scorch marks all over it. It's surprisingly difficult. Anyway,
see, the only one I've ever seen is where someone has taken the expanding foam and dumped like 4 cans of it in there, so the camera's just gone.
Yeah, that'd probably do the job. Yeah. GPU spit flames. Yeah, that can happen. But again, it's a case of, even if the GPU spits flames, once the component that has caught fire burns out, and it will do, because it's a component, it's going to burn out, and it will burn the short open eventually. Even if a capacitor fails and goes short circuit across a 12-volt rail, the 12-volt rail is going to dump its entire wattage into that short circuit, and it will either sit there and just tank and get really hot, or if there is enough current, it will just go and blow itself open. And once it's blown open, the electrical short no longer exists because it's blown open. Therefore, there's no source of ignition anymore, and it goes out. Same with those graphics cards. They can spit flames. They can go bleh, as Class said. You can spit your flames, but once those MOSFETs that blew up have burnt out, they can't be on fire anymore. And so you've got the amount of time that takes in order to set the computer case on fire. And typically, the amount of time it takes for the component to burn out is nowhere near long enough to actually set a tin box on fire. So yeah, absolutely. Things catching fire is bad, and the H1 catching fire is bad. However, I do wonder how much of a threat there really is there, and I wonder if that is something that NZXT were factoring in when they decided to roll the dice on that. How many speeding tickets do I have, Graham? I have a clean license.
Is that because of other clerical reasons?
Well, the question was, how many speeding tickets do I have? And at present, I have none. So, yes. Let's see.
Sorry, I cracked up and laughed because I saw a headline that said, "How a man called Graham raised road safety awareness." After I searched for, "Has Graham crashed yet?"
Is that blog still up?
I don't know, because I couldn't remember what the URL was.
I'm gonna check this.
No, it's probably been flagged for porn or something because Tumblr.
No, it's still there. I do not wish to share this with the class, though. It's still there, it's still fine, and status, no, he's okay. However, I do not wish to share that with the audience. Anyway, have we got anything else to talk about? Otherwise, I think we should wrap up.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
My only comment was going to be you were having USB issues with your computer.
I have done nothing to look into those at present, I must admit.
I had an interesting similar one with the card reader on my monitor, which is also plugged into the USB hub on the monitor. On one of the USB controllers on the Asus motherboard I am temporarily using, the card reader continuously connects and disconnects. So it just goes ba-dum, 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 ba-dum.
That's the worst thing, yeah.
So you unplug it from that controller, plug it into a different controller, and it works absolutely fine. And I'm just like, good job. Excellent. But yes, it's a very odd setup.
Yeah. But no, I have not looked into my issue yet. I took a load of USBs out the back because at Christmas I bought a 4-port USB charger. So all of the little USB powered knickknacks I've got on my desk, a la my desk light, my USB clock, and my RGB mouse mat, because you've got to have a USB powered mouse mat. Am I right? I unplugged all of that from the back of the PC, and that's just all plugged into a single 4-port USB plug now. So because I freed up a bunch of stuff, I was able to redistribute my actual USB devices, which for the most part made the problem go away. But I do still have issues if I plug my... I do still have issues with my mouse when I plug my USB SSD into my front port. When my mouse and my USB SSD are both on my front panel connectors, I have issues with the mouse. Which reminds me, I was going to bring home an extension lead so I don't need to plug my mouse receiver into my front USB port anymore, because that's annoying me. So yeah,
I entirely forgot that you had a wireless mouse as you were saying that, and I was just like,
yeah,
but what?
Yeah,
but yes,
still wireless on the mouse front. I will probably go wired. I don't know. I think I will. No, I'm going to stay wireless with mouse, because I was about to say I'll probably go wired for my next mouse and bite the bullet. But however, there are actually significantly more options available for wireless now than there used to be. So
absolutely, you'll have to get one of those Gamer Pro Ultra XXX edition light speed, 16 grams and lighter than a gnat's fart edition.
I don't know. Logitech have got some good options for wireless gaming mice that don't cost the earth, do they? Yeah, and by don't cost the earth, I'm expecting, I don't know, £60 or £70.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get change out of that, maybe.
Yeah, and like,
I don't know,
£60 or £70 for a premium gaming peripheral is tolerable. I mean, I'd like to pay 20 or 30 quid for a mouse, which you can do. However, I fully expect it's a lot, it's a lot like with mechanical keyboards. You can get a mechanical keyboard for £30, but the kind of mechanical keyboard that you actually want to own is probably going to be at least 100 quid.
Huh. The G305 is £52 off of the Logitech website.
And that's got their modern wireless on it, right?
That is the Lightspeed wireless one.
Yeah, there you go. I thought so.
Lightspeed wireless.
Yeah, I thought so.
If you want to go fancy edition, you can get like the Pro X Superlight for 130.
Don't care. Yeah.
So yeah, if you want more than 2 buttons though, you're looking at £70 for the G603.
Oh, what was the cheapest one that you just mentioned?
G305.
G305 Logitech. I'm just going to get a pic.
Oh, the G603 only has 2 extra buttons as well. I thought it had
Yeah,
more.
I mean, yeah, that would be fine with me. It's got a backwards and a forwards button on the side and 2 things. I'm fine with that. I mean, yeah, it is fairly unremarkable in appearance. But then on the other hand, my current mouse isn't exactly fancy, and I quite like it. So I feel £52 feels like a lot for that mouse at face value. However, the thing is that the next follow-up question to that is like, well, what do you want? What do you want it to look like then? if they put some Go Faster stripes on it and made it non-ambidextrous so it looked more fancy, would that make it worth £52? Even though it's the same hardware inside? And I'm like, okay, point taken.
I like the color options you can get for it. I really like the blue one.
I was about to say I like that it comes in different colors.
Yeah. That blue is a very nice ultra blue.
And ironically, that's also that's the color scheme that I'm using in my computer at the moment as well. So that would, but then on the other hand, I don't want to buy a mouse that's the same color as my current RGB lighting, because then I can never change the color of my RGB lighting again. In reality, I'd buy the black one because black goes with everything. Yeah. Maybe I'll buy the white one because white with black accents looks cool. I don't know. Either way, what was the next one up from that? The G503. 603. G603.
7.
And the first view of that is a side profile, which doesn't tell me jack. Oh my god, why isn't the first thing on the page a nice 3/4 view picture? I hate everything. I just want a nice 3/4 view of it, not weird. Oh, I hate it when people do this. It's like a car advert where they just keep showing you close-ups of the headlights and close-ups of bits of the interior of the car, and I'm just like, what does it look like? You're trying to sell me this car, but you're not showing me what the car looks like. And they're just like, emotion, BMW. And that's the end of the advert.
Look at the size of our kidney grills.
Yes. I'm getting the same. Okay, everyone watching who cares now, open a tab and type in Logitech G603, so it goes to the Logitech website, and you will see what I mean. I can't find a good picture of this mouse. I can't see what it looks like.
A mouse.
Yeah. Are you seeing the same as me, Caradog? Do you see what I'm talking about here? Am I going mad?
Maybe.
That there's not a single good picture of that mouse on that website. Have they got a gallery? Menu? No, they don't. There is no gallery. I'll look it up on heckin' Amazon.
Look. I have a solution. I will simply send you a picture. Here, have a picture.
I'm angry.
Hi, angry.
There's no good 3/4 view. There we go. Yeah, you have sent me a 3/4 view picture. Okay. Yeah. All right. That looks nicer. Yeah. But well, no. The G603 is £53 on Amazon UK. But then by that extent, how much is the cheap one then? The 305. 305. I apologise for anyone who's actually still here and still watching, and now I'm just waffling about mice. If you thought you were if you came here for something else, you're in the wrong podcast. Sorry. The G305 is £40. That is very compelling value to me.
I still half feel like if we're going to continue the rodent analogy with mice, that wireless ones should be called hamsters. I still think that that's a thing, and I am fully in support of hamsters.
God,
so I have a mouse and a hamster.
I'm really tempted just to buy that. I've been threatening to replace my mouse for years, literally years. And every time I keep saying, oh, I think I'm going to buy a new mouse, I just fix whatever's wrong with my current mouse and keep using it.
See, what you need, though, is you need...
I don't know. I don't
need all of these.
I don't need a numpad on the side of my mouse. I don't need that. All I care about is just a backwards and a forwards button, because then I can just map those to iron sights and reload when I'm playing a shooter.
But having all those buttons is useful.
I mean, if I was playing a MOBA or an MMO, maybe. But I don't care.
I use it for weapon switching and stuff in games and things like that.
You know what I use for that? I use the mouse wheel. Or numpad.
Yeah, but what if I want to go from weapon 1 to weapon 7?
I press 7 on the keyboard. Yeah.
That then means taking my fingers off of movement, whereas instead I just roll my thumb slightly.
I might have accidentally closed the chat for the live stream. Okay, there it
I
is.
thought you were going to say I may have accidentally closed OBS. Now we're just talking to each other.
Yeah.
We're just talking to each other, thinking we're streaming. In actual fact, in a moment, suddenly, oh, the preview's gone dead. Oh well. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, or failing that, I'm just going tonight when I'm going to sleep. You know when you're falling asleep and just you're hovering around the dream state, and I will go to sleep. I will be thinking about mice, computer peripherals, and I'll be thinking, oh God, am I still streaming? Anyone who streams has had that happen to them at some point where they've been like, oh God, am I still streaming? And they'll keep thinking that they've fallen asleep on stream, because they'll sort of go, oh, when they're going to sleep in bed, and they'll be like, oh no, I'm still streaming and I fell asleep on stream. Yeah.
My version of that is from playing Eve.
Yeah.
It's from regularly going, oh shit, did I actually safe log?
Yeah.
Oh bollocks, am I just randomly sat in space?
Yeah.
Oh no. That's absolutely my equivalent.
Meanwhile,
of
the
that.
chat is actually talking about mice. So,
yeah.
Right, I think it's time to go. I think it is time to go.
I've legitimately dreamt that I've lost supers. Legitimately dreamt that I have entirely screwed up. Everything has gone wrong. I'm going to be ridiculed. And I've had to check my own Z-kill.
Eve memes. Right, okay, it's time to go. It's time to go. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And yes, Teltac knows the feel as well, apparently. Thank you, everyone, for showing up today. It's been a bit of a weird one today. I don't know. We've been a bit rambly, but obviously where we ran until Tuesday today, it's a different day, and it's been a while. Like it's been 10 days since we did the last one of these now. So anyway, are we going to try Tuesday again, or are we just going back to Saturday afternoons?
We're going to do another one of these.
Okay, another Tuesday.
And I think what we should do is post a community thing.
Yeah.
Saying...
Oh, yeah, we forgot to talk about community posts.
Saturday at 2, Saturday at 7, Saturday at 4, Tuesday at 7 sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll do that.
And give people the option to vote and share and stuff.
Yeah.
Because, interacting with community pages may engage interaction with other things.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw the follow-up. Spiffing Brit posted a follow-up video. I watched
the first one. But I meant just the fact of community interaction with your channel is good for engagement. Because engagement is good for algos.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at any rate, there was I'll very briefly covering it, super flying overview. Spiffing Brit did a video where he discovered that because no one uses community posts, they are very, very broken in the algorithm right now, because no one is using them. So when one person uses them, they get massively boosted in the algorithm. And he invited everyone to try and do this, to try and break the algorithm at the same time. And it worked, but because everyone became special, no one was special, which is technically exactly how it's supposed to work. And that's exactly what happened. I did the community post, I did the copy pasta from Spiffing Brit, and there was massive engagement on it, but it was all engagement from my audience. Unlike his one, where he got massive engagement from an outside or from the outer audience, which was the significant point. However, that is what happened to everyone else. Everyone else's one also mainly hit their own audience because everyone was doing it at the same time. So, and that was the information that was in his follow-up video. However, I will be resolving to try and use the community posts more often, because there was big engagement there. Plenty, it got a lot of engagement in a short amount of time. So I will be posting community updates. However, anything that I post to the community, I will also put on Twitter. So if you're sitting on a desktop going, I don't do community because I don't do YouTube mobile, just follow me on Twitter instead. So yeah.
And actually at you in stuff to give you stuff to talk about.
Yeah, potentially. I may even read the ads as a special treat. So yeah.
Someone added you saying, thank you so much for doing a case review on this case. You made me go buy it. and
I know.
you didn't even do anything.
I do.
I was super hurt for them.
I do see these things now and then, but the problem is I've got so much on my plate. I'm tired. But yeah, I will. I do need to check my mentions more. I need to check my mentions. I'm sorry, everyone. I do appreciate all of you.
What kind of influencer are you?
A bad one. I didn't ask for this. So, we're going. Thanks for coming, everyone. Thank you for being in the chat. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the follows and subscribes. Thank you for all the things. I love you all. I really appreciate you all. I've got a new shop. Caradog sneezing. You're right.
We're all good.
I've got a new shop. I'm really excited. There's going to be lots of content about that. Thank you very much, everyone. Discord link. Someone paste that in. Are you Caradog? Paste it. Do the thing. And we'll see you all. Keep your eyes peeled for the next scheduled podcast. Thank you all. Goodbye. We're going.
Good evening.
What flux and wick am I using? Cheap stuff off of eBay. Silverline desoldering wire. And some knockoff Amtech flux from eBay that says Amtech, is probably not Amtech.
I was super confused when you said Amtech flux the first time. I was like, they make power supplies.
No. The particular one I've got at the moment, though, this is a really bad syringe. I don't know what happened. It's the same stuff I always buy, but this particular one is just really awful, and I don't know why. So yeah, that's what I got. Don't recommend it. Anyway, stop. Yep, we're hitting stop. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone. End stream.
Goodbye. Ciao.
Good. Right.